Thanks for tuning in. Episode 3 of And Now the Band with Keith Wampler from the Convalescence. Um, be sure to stick with us. Like, subscribe, share, all the good stuff. Thanks.
Hey, how's it going, Tom?
What's up, dude? How you doing?
Good, man. Just been busy.
Yeah, I know the feeling. You're always busy, though. I feel like.
Yep, working quite a few quite a few jobs throughout the industry.
Yeah, yeah. How many jobs are you up to now? Like 27?
No, not quite that many. Not quite that many. Working at Satellite Touring as a booking agent. Working at Extreme Management Group as an artist manager. Running Toledo Death Fest. Promoting shows in Toledo under the Legend Agency. And then doing vocals and tour managing and merch managing and everything for the Convalescence.
Good times.
Oh yeah,
Now, you guys, the Convalescence, got some good stuff going on this coming year, huh?
yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about the next like 30 days for you.
I mean, that's really all we have announced for the most part.
Yep.
We're going to be doing a hometown show in Toledo with King 810, as well as our friends in Ignominious, Death Hex, and the Black Order. And then that night after the show, we pretty much have time to drop the bus off where it lives with the gear in it and take quick showers at my place and head straight to the airport to go to Japan.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool.
Um, and then we have 3 dates in Japan, Osaka, and 2 in Tokyo with Obituary and Karis. And that'll be our first time over to Japan.
Right on. Make sure you get some sushi.
Well, I'm allergic to seafood, so probably not.
Oh, damn.
Not for me.
Well, you can get some non-fish sushi.
I think I'm just gonna avoid it altogether.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. So I was jamming out to the album earlier. Man, what a great album.
Thank you, man.
So when did the writing process start with it?
End of 2019, beginning of 2020.
Okay.
We the original plan, I guess, was for us to write it at the beginning of 2020, end of 2019. In December 2019, we had toured Europe with 6 Feet Under, and we got back from that, and we're like, okay, we're going to take basically some time off for the holidays, and then we're going to jump right into writing in January, which is what we did. And we had a lot of touring that was supposed to start in March, and we had well over 100 shows booked for the year, multiple countries, like all that kind of stuff. And we had started writing, and we were getting together on like a weekly basis and writing. Um, and then the pandemic hit, and that just kind of blindsided us,
Mm.
um, because some of the first stuff we were trying to do was we were going to go try to hit Thailand and some stuff like that, and we were going to be hitting Canada and doing festivals in the U.S. and doing a U.S. tour, and we had plans for Europe again. And um, as I'm looking for plane tickets, we get contacted, and as I'm getting contacted, I'm being told while I'm sitting at my computer that they're closing all the borders and not to buy any plane tickets, and I'm getting all these cancellation emails, and it was just kind of all at
No.
once, like what's going on.
Yeah.
And so obviously we lost a lot of money that we were planning to make off canceling all those shows. We had already put merch orders in. We had already done repairs on the bus. We had just bought a new bus and renovated it for the touring that year. Um, and so there was a lot of money that had just gone out to get ready for the touring that was now not going
Yeah.
to happen. And at the time, nobody really knew how long that was going to last. So it was a very much like, okay, back everything up to summer. Okay, back everything up to next year. Okay, I'll back it all up again, and so that was tough. And we had planned originally to go record with Christian Donaldson from Cryptopsy up in Montreal, like we did for the Monument of Misery album. And that was the plan. And we couldn't go to Canada, and he couldn't come here. And because the border was shut down. And we're like, well, we don't want to delay everything that hard, like till further notice, basically,
Right.
to get the album done. Um, so we ended up shopping it around a little bit to producers here, and landed on Jason Sukoff down at Audio Hammer, and with some with some help from some friends and stuff like that, we were able to afford to actually go there.
Yeah.
It was a bit out of our league, I feel like, as far as what we had to work with, because at the time we were not on any kind of label. We had no financial backing whatsoever, and it was us, and none of us are rich by any means,
Right.
so and having just taken such a hit with all the touring being canceled as well, it was like, man, how are we even going to record this album? um but we were able to, fortunately make it happen. But nothing happened in 2020 at all. Like, we recorded some music videos. We pushed online merch really, really hard. We tried to build up our social media platforms and stuff like that, and our Spotify a little bit, and it worked. I mean, to an extent, but I like to be on the road, and I like to see that we're doing something. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
the online stuff is just more annoying to me than anything. As far as, like, making TikTok videos, or having to edit videos and stuff for YouTube, or just all the different stuff, doing like all these interviews. I'm used to getting interviewed right there, like next to our bus before we go on, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
doing them on Zoom or Skype or whatever was a big change. I'm used to it now, but at the time we hadn't done too much of that. I feel like it wasn't as big of a thing prior to the pandemic.
Right.
And in 2021, um, in at the end of May into June, we finally made the trip down to Florida to record an Audio Hammer with Jason, and it was a great experience. It's the longest it has ever taken us to record an album. We're usually pretty efficient, and we go in and we're well practiced on everything, and just kind of knock it out. But we went into Jason, and he really helped produce the record. Like, he had real
Right on.
opinions on things. We changed a lot of stuff when we got there, and there was no like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. We'll just scoot it a little bit and it's fine. It's good. This was He was hearing things that were messed up that we couldn't even hear. It's just like,
Well, that's why it costed more, right?
yeah,
Like you
yeah.
get
I mean,
the
dude, well,
quality.
well worth it, 100%. But like, for example, we did live drums on the Monument of Misery album as well. Setup and live drums for that album took 2.5 days to do the whole album.
Yeah.
Um, this time it took 13.
Oh wow.
So it was a very large difference, um, and stuff like that. And since touring was starting to come back summer of 2021,
Hmm.
we went down there, we recorded the drums, we like had redone pre-production basically, um and we had started doing the guitars. All the guitars and stuff were supposed to be done before the end of June. Zach and Toby didn't get back until after the 4th of July.
Wow.
And then I know Toby had to go back down there and do more guitar later. And the bass still needed to be done, and the keyboard still needed to be done, and we did some dates, and then I had to fly back down there to do the vocals. Um, and we were like kind of not in a rush to do the vocals, but we were going with LTTV to Penhurst Asylum in Spring City, Pennsylvania, to spend the night there. And we had written the song 79 Years about the horrendous things that had happened inside Penhurst over the 79 years that the place was open before it was shut down. And we wanted to make sure the vocals were laid so that we could record a music video in Penhurst.
Right.
So like I finished the vocals, I flew home, I slept for like 3 hours, got up, got on the bus, and we started driving to Penhurst. So it was like right away, right away. And I actually like we recorded that song on vocals first because I wanted in my downtime between tracking to just listen to that song over and over and pound it into my head so I would have it memorized for the video shoot
Right.
that was like a couple days later. Um, so we had to do, we had to do that. And altogether, we finally, and after we got done with Jason, Jason mixed it. And then we sent it for mastering to Christian from Cryptopsy up in Montreal, and he did the mastering. We also got two of my favorite vocalists to jump on tracks on the record. On Bloodletter, we had Ricky Myers from Suffocation. Um, he was stoked to do it. He sent his part in like I think before the track was even fully done. Like I was like, this is what we're looking for. We sent him like a really rough version, and he recorded over it, and then we like kind of re-recorded the song, but left his vocals, and like there's a part where like everything drops out except for the bass and his vocals, and it's like super sick sounding. And he didn't know we were gonna do that. We didn't even know we were gonna do that until like it happened. Um, so he had actually recorded over the full song, like everything playing. And when he finally heard it, it's like it's just bass and him. And
He's like, whoa, hold on.
but it sounds way more brutal. And I met Ricky. He was the drummer for Disgorge.
Okay.
And we toured with them in Cryptopsy in 2015, and then he was doing vocals for Suffocation, and we did our first ever European tour in 2016 with Suffocation and Cattle Decap. So we got to hang out on that one, and we've crossed paths several times, and now he's like the full-time singer for Suffa, which is awesome. And their new album rips. It came out the same day as ours.
Yeah.
And we got to open for them earlier this year in Fort Wayne. But I was stoked to have him on the track, and then obviously Scotty and Lewis on No Survivors from Carnifex. I've been jamming Carnifex since I was like a kid, like learning how to be in a band,
Yeah.
and been a big fan for a lot of years, and we've crossed paths with those dudes a ton of times over the years. And I just went out on a limb kind of on Instagram and was like, hey Scott, we wrote this song about Alien and it's brutal, do you want to do something on it? And he's like, hell yeah. And we didn't like plan it out or anything really on like what he was gonna do, or like I sent him the lyrics, I sent him the pre-pro of like me doing the song, and I was like, whatever parts you want to do, just jump in, I'll work around it or whatever. He ended up doing a lot of vocals on the track. I mean, he's on like at least half the vocals on the track. And there's some parts where Jason had me layer my voice with his voice, and there's some parts that are just me, some parts that are just him. But it was really cool to like collaborate with somebody I've been listening to since I was like a teenager on the track. And then they were cool, and they invited us to at the end of 2022, and this was a tour that got pushed back 4 times because of the pandemic.
Good old COVID.
But we finally got to do it at the end of 2022. We went to Europe with Carnifex, Chelsea Grin, Body Snatcher, and Varials, and the tour was incredible. But having those dudes on the track was awesome. We had originally signed to Blood Blast Distribution because when we pitched the album around, nobody wanted it. You know, to be
Right.
real, nobody was into it. Everybody was like, "Man, this album sounds great. We just don't think that this band is going to be a household name by any means, or that kind of stuff." Just kind of like,
Thanks for
I
the
don't know.
support.
It's not the album; it's you guys,
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
thing. So we we took that, we signed a distribution deal, and we're like, fine, we'll just do it ourselves. We'll just put it out ourselves.
Right.
And we had released a couple singles and been doing tours, and then we linked up with Mark from Misery Index. He works over at EMG, and he picked us up, and he's like, dude, this album's too good to just be like you guys releasing it, basically. He's like, let me shop it around and whatever, and ended up coming up with the deal. And we re-signed for the same album. Blood Blast was really cool with us and let us go.
Right
And
on.
we signed with Cleopatra Records, which that roster is crazy to be, I guess, on a list with those bands.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean Cleopatra's been around for what, 30 years or something crazy.
yeah, I mean, I had heard of the label, and he sent me over the roster, and I'm looking. It's like Megadeth, Danzig, and then there's like crazy stuff like Elton John, Blink
Yeah.
182, like Cheryl Crow, and I'm like, dude, what? Why are they? Like it was a bit of a question of like, why do they want us?
Right.
Kind of, but they've been really cool with us, really helpful. Um,
Looks like you
and
guys are getting a lot of support from them.
yeah, they've been very helpful. And we hooked back up with indie merch to do the merch for the album, and we hooked up with skateboard marketing to help with like the radio aspect of things, which we've never really even tried to do or done before. Because we're just like, well, we play death metal. Why would we be trying to get on the radio? They don't
Right.
play death metal on the radio. And they did a fantastic job, and we ended up at number 3 on the Metal Contraband radio charts.
Right on.
When the album came out, we were in the top 10 for 5 weeks, which was super cool. And then when the record came out, it ended up being like number 4 on the iTunes metal charts. We were number 12 on the rock charts and number 56 on the top 200 of all genres,
Right
which was
on.
crazy to me to like, break the top 200 at all, but to be number 56 was cool for us. I mean, we were stoked on everything. The CD release show and tour went super well. So I mean, it's been a long building process and a lot of bullshit to get to where the album actually got to come out and actually got out to everybody.
Yeah. But all the hard work, right? It's all like you're seeing the fruits of your labor, and it's
Yeah, yeah. I'm stoked to get out and tour on it more in 2024.
yeah.
Um, and this is kind of giving people time to get familiar with these new songs and everything. So we're being kind of picky about the touring we're doing in 2024, but on the same note, I think we're going to end up doing some cool stuff this year.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think, every time I see you guys, I think you put on a great show.
Thank you.
You guys are always super friendly. I dig the music. I really like No Survivor, the way it starts with the gallops, right? Like
Yeah,
that brings back. I was talking with another dude a little while ago, Brian Omer from Stonecutters. We were talking about Iron Maiden, and that's one of the things I like.
yeah,
The gallops, those always get me.
yeah. I mean, to be real, Iron Maiden is the reason that I like play music.
Right on.
I when I was a kid, like my my dad and his friends and everybody big Maiden fans, and the Brave New World like Rock and Rio DVD came out.
Hmm.
Um, and like I listened to music, but I wasn't like it wasn't the thing, you know what I mean? For me
Right.
as like a little kid. I didn't think about, going and doing this for a living. Um, I just, I enjoyed music when it was playing, I guess, and that was
Right.
about as far as it went. And they made a big deal out of that Rock and Rio DVD. They like turned all the lights in the house off and put it up, and they turned the stereo like all the way up, and like
It was
we're
an
watching this
event.
concert, like it's gonna be sick, you know.
Yeah.
And when they were playing The Wicker Man, and the whole crowd is just like chanting, like even the guitar riff, I was just like, whoa, like I want to do that, and at the time I knew so little about music that like I didn't understand that bands had like different albums.
Oh yeah.
Like I just thought like, oh, if you have this band's CD, you have like all their music, and I know that's stupid like looking back now,
If
but I
only.
was like 10 or 11 years old.
Right.
I had no idea. So like I immediately, I got home to my mom's house. I started going through all her CDs, and she had Number of the Beast and Peace of Mind, which obviously neither one has the Wicker Man on it. I was
Right.
looking for that song. Um, so really, I listened to those two albums like a million times, mainly looking for that song, but I fell in love with those albums.
Hmm.
And then later, ended up understanding that there's more albums and that Maiden's got like 100.
Yeah.
And I went immediately to the store and bought Brave New World. But that was kind of the start of like metal for me and for music in general.
Wow. That's that's for me. It was my introduction to live metal was Ozzy.
Okay.
I always thought that was cool, but I grew up right with I think my real introduction to metal was probably 86 with Master of Puppets.
Okay.
I had a babysitter that, man, she was a she was a drunk, but but she loved Metallica, so it was like,
Right.
oh good. Um and then, from there it delves into some more extreme stuff. I remember early, I'm gonna say early, like late 80s,
Mm.
watching Death Angel and Death and all those guys on Headbangers Ball.
Yeah. I mean, my first live concert that I went to was in 2003. I went and saw Alice Cooper at the Toledo Zoo.
Oh, wow.
They have a big amphitheater there, and I went and saw him there. That was my first like live concert ever.
That's pretty cool.
So I mean, definitely a good start, Maiden and Cooper. But yeah, I mean, as I got more into it, I think and this is gonna sound funny since I'm from Ohio, but my first like heavy music that I was like into, because I had heard like originally I heard like Black Dahlia Murder, Lamb of God, and I was like, the riffs and stuff are cool, but I had grown up listening to like 80s metal, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I immediately was the kid like I can't understand anything they're saying, which is funny now. But so I was a little bit turned off by it. I didn't hate it, but I wasn't like stoked on it. And then I got the Mushroom Head 13 album,
Hmm.
and I could understand everything they were saying even when they were screaming and stuff, and it was like a mix. And I think it went from like Mushroom Head to I found Slipknot and was like, well, this is even cooler. And then went from Slipknot to kind of went back into Lamb of God and Black Dahlia. I was big into like Kill Switch Engage around the like end of Heartache era. As I Lay Dying when they did An Ocean Between Us and stuff like
Hmm.
that were some big ones for me that I jammed a lot when I was a kid. And then I discovered deathcore, and that was Whitechapel and Suicide Silence, as Blood Runs Black, Job for a Cowboy.
You're like,
And
oh
then
my God.
it went all the way over to like Waking the Cadaver and Dying Fetus and some some stuff that was just like grind nonsense, you know, like
Yeah.
um and that's when I found like Cattle was like around Humanure, and uh I just wanted to listen to the most ridiculous things possible at one point, you know what I mean? I started kind of picking and choosing at this point.
Yeah. It's not heavy enough. It's not what I
Yeah,
want. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
So just kind of went down that road
That's
for a
cool.
while.
Well, I mean, I think everyone does that, right? Especially in like the metal world. It's like
Yeah,
how extreme can I get? And okay, that's too extreme. I got to reel it back a little bit.
right, right.
There's always that. Like early, I remember anal cunt, and it was like everyone's like, "Oh my God, anal cunt!" And really, you
Yeah,
only listen to it because of the name. What are you
right.
listening to? Anal cunt. Like, oh, okay,
Yeah, like being edgy.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I for me, I didn't even start out as a vocalist. I only started doing vocals because we couldn't find a vocalist that like any of us liked. I was a guitar player in my first like couple projects.
wow,
Um, and I was playing guitar and like, dude, we were like practicing in my grandma's basement, like playing like literally like Twisted Sister covers and stuff. And we at one point we had three guitar players, and in the matter of like 2 weeks, dude, we had tried out like 7 or 8 vocalists, and they were all either like, yeah, show up, and they were like really good, but then like the next practice they just didn't show and like didn't answer their phone,
damn,
or like, and it was just really unreliable, and we wanted to start playing shows, and I was like, I played guitar for our first I think 2 shows, and we had a different vocalist for each of the first 2 shows. And then the second dude quit, and I'm just like, give me the microphone. Fuck it. Like, I'm gonna try this. And dude, like, my original vocals were horrendous. Like, I was just cupping the mic so hard and making like this distorted like panther sound. And it was just awful, dude. And it took me a while to like it took me until we went to actually record to like understand like, oh, now I can't grab a condenser mic.
right,
I can't make these distortions with my hands with the mic. And I kind of had to learn like during the process of recording our first like demo and our first album and stuff like that I had to enunciate a certain way, that I had to like work on like vocal tone and stuff like that. And like that's what I feel like started making me into a better vocalist. And then once I got decent at vocals and got comfortable as like a front man, I never wanted to pick up an instrument again.
right.
Like I don't want to play an instrument on stage.
Yeah, I don't
And
blame you.
and but I mean, for the Convalescence, I'll pick up an instrument in the studio.
Right,
Like Reflections, Scum, No Survivors. I wrote a big majority of the guitar for those songs.
right on.
So I'm not as good of a guitar player by any means as any of the other dudes in the band. That's why they're the guitar players,
Right.
And but I know enough to where I can pick up a guitar and riff away a little bit, and they get like an idea of what I'm going for, and I can be like, all right, now you play it, but like good,
Yeah. You
that
play
kind of
it like it's supposed to be. Yeah.
right. You play it like it is in my head. My hands are too stupid to make that sound happen. Yeah,
Right. I can sing it all day.
right,
Th-
right.
that's
We'll
that.
deal with vocals later, but like let's get this breakdown down.
Right. That's
Yeah,
so funny. I mean that's why it's a band though, right?
yeah,
If everyone could play everything great or
yeah.
perfect.
We went into the studio. I mean, I think everyone in the band wrote at least a song.
Oh,
Uh,
right on.
so I think each guitar player wrote 3 songs. Our bass player wrote 3 songs. I wrote a song, and then our drummer and keyboardist wrote all their parts. So
Right on. Now, and you guys just lost the bass player.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've known that was coming since June.
Okay.
He let us know that, so we had time to kind of plan and stuff like that, and it was a very smooth transition.
Hmm.
Um, but really, I mean, he's just got a lot of stuff going on his own at home that he wants to take care of, and I mean, he's been touring with us since 2016.
Right.
That's a lot, man. We've done a lot of shows since 2016. I think he's played like 700 or 800 shows with us almost.
Wow.
And we've been to a ton of different countries and like all that kind of stuff. So like he just wanted to step back and take care of home stuff for a while.
Yeah,
And we respect that. And we're still on super good terms with Ron. He's awesome fucking dude.
for sure.
And we love that dude. But he came in and he personally picked, Dan from the breathing process. He's like, Dan's cool. He's great at bass. Like he wants to do something, and so we gave Dan the opportunity to come on tour with us for the One of the Dead Part 2 and for the Harvesters of Flesh and Bone album release tour. And he was driving our bus
Right on.
and in the downtime learning the bass parts. And so we knew it was coming. Dan's prepared to do this. And we just, until Ron was done with all of his shows, we didn't want to make it like a weird thing or make it like a bummed out thing or whatever that Ron was leaving for like the fans.
Yeah.
So we waited until Ron had played his last show uh, to make an announcement.
Yeah, and I think you guys all made an announcement on the same day.
Yeah, we coordinated it for
Rock and
sure.
roll.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for me I was like, "Oh, that sucks," right? Cuz
Yeah.
he's one of the guys anytime I see you, I always give him a big hug, right?
Oh
He's
yeah.
such a big dude.
Oh yeah. And I mean, he'll still be around here and there. And I mean, if we ever needed a fill in or anything for Dan, we could absolutely call Ron,
For
and he
sure.
would more than likely jump in and do it. Um, he just can't do it full time right now.
Yeah.
I don't think he wanted to leave or like he definitely doesn't have any like ill will towards the band at all.
No, not at all.
It was just a personal thing, and he gave us, like I said, like 6 months notice, and
Plenty of notice.
yeah,
Sometimes you get older, priorities change. You've
yeah.
got
He told us, and then he still did 3 more tours with us. So uh,
right.
that is what it is. But we're happy to have Dan now and moving forward like that.
That's awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to, seeing the new lineup.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys are going to come to Louisville anytime soon.
I'm sure we will be. There's a lot of stuff kind of floating around right now, and we thought we were about to hear back on a bunch of stuff, and then the holidays happened, and everyone's out of the office. So
Yep,
we're expecting to know a little more, and hopefully in January,
right on.
about what we're doing coming up. But we'll be on tour at some point in the spring, in the U.S., I believe.
Okay,
I just don't know what that's going to look like yet.
sure. Well,
So
we'll figure it out when it gets announced.
yeah, yeah, and I'm sure Louisville. I mean, we had a blast when we were down there last time, aside from the technical problems we were dealing with, and
Yeah,
we've had a blast there before, so I'm sure we'll be back.
for sure. Yeah, it's just I feel like, the shows are so hit and miss in Louisville. Um, I'll
I mean,
have to,
our biggest issue last time wasn't the crowd even, or wasn't like the venue or anything like that. It was from the time we loaded in and everything to the time we went on stage. A very important piece went missing, to our drum kit, and that is the SIM card that runs, or the actual, basically the MP3 player that plays the keyboard tracks through the front of house and the click tracks through our drummer's ears went missing
yeah,
from our gear. So that walked off at some point, between loading in and going on stage at that show. And so we were running it off a phone, and the phone was not super cooperative. So there was, you'd click one thing and then like it would start going and then it wouldn't be the song you clicked, or that kind of stuff. So
You're
we were
like,
dealing with
no.
kind of problems with that,
Yeah.
during that show. But, we stopped it at a Walmart and bought another MP3 player that night, and re uploaded all of our stuff to it, and we were fine the rest of the tour. But yeah, that walked off, and that was like,
That's
that's technically somebody stole our keyboardist and our click tracks,
right.
so
Yeah. Oh.
it was stupid.
Yeah,
But
you still made it through it. I think it sounded good, right? It
yeah,
was
once we got into the songs, it was fine, but it was like getting songs started
yeah,
that was the complicated thing.
for sure.
Um, but yeah, it worked out.
So you
We
guys
still
planning on releasing any more singles from the album? Maybe doing some little 7 inches or something?
um we're looking to put out some more videos throughout the year, of songs that are out on the album. Nothing necessarily like new dropping, since the album just came out in November.
Okay.
And we had previously only released 3 out of 11 tracks on the record,
Yeah.
so everything's pretty new. Um, we're gonna start writing again soon, so we'll see what that ends up looking like. But right now, we're looking to tour as much as we can on the new
Yeah, for sure.
record, and that's the main priority right now.
Well, that'll be fun, starting the year off with, the show with King 810 and then heading to Japan with Obituary. I mean, that's a great way to start 24.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, Keith, I know we ran a little late today and we're kind of short on time, so I'm not going to keep you. I really appreciate you coming and
Yeah,
spending
no
time
problem,
talking
man.
with me. It's always great talking to you.
Absolutely.
Um, go safe travels and we'll talk soon. All right.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on.